Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. Chapter 15, the Pandavas retire timely. Text number 8. Yat Sanidao Aham U Gandiva Agnaye Dam Indram Cha Samaram Ganam Tarasam Vidyatya Labdha Sabha Maya Kritadbhutta Shilpa Maya Digbyo Haran Nirpatayo Balim Advare Te.
Melody is in Tamil.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
Yatsanidaham ukadamvam agneyadam Indram cha samaraganam tarasa vijitya Labda sabha maya krita bhuta shilpa maya Digbyo haran nipatayo balim advarete Yatsanidavaham mukadavam agneyadam Idram cha samaraganam tarasa vijitya Labda sabha maya krita bhuta shilpa maya Digbyo haran nipatayo balim advarete
Yatsanidavaham Gandiva
Bow
Indram cha samaraganam tarasa vijitya
Indram cha samaraganam tarasa vijitya
Labdha sabha maya krita bhuta shilpa maya
Labdha sabha maya krita bhuta shilpa maya
Digbyo haran patayo balamadvarete
Digbyo haran nirpatayo balim advarete. Anyone else would like to try Sanskrit? Yat, whose, Sanidao, being nearby, Aham, myself, U, note of astonishment, Gandivam, the protected forest of Indra, king of heaven, Agneye, onto the fire god, Adam, delivered, Indram, Indra, Cha, also, Sa, along with, Amaraganam, the demigods, Tarasa, with all dexterity, Viditya, having conquered, Labda, having obtained, Sabha, assembly house, Mayakrita, built by Maya, Adbhuta, very wonderful. Shilpa, art and workmanship. Maya, potency. Digbhya, from all directions. Aharan, collected. Nirpataya, all princes. Balim, presentations. Advare, brought. Te, your. Translation. This is Arjuna speaking to his brother, King Yudhisthira, speaking about Lord Krishna. Because he was near me, Krishna, because he, Lord Krishna, was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradev, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Gandiva forest. And only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Gandiva forest. And thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performance of Rajasuya Yajna and paid you tributes. Translation again, I'll say you please repeat. Because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradev, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Gandiva forest. And only by his grace was the demon Maya saved from the blazing Gandiva forest. And thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performance of Rajasuya Yajna and paid you tributes. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Mayadanava, the demon Mayadanava, was an inhabitant of the forest Gandiva. And when the Gandiva forest was set on fire, he asked protection from Arjuna. Arjuna saved his life, and as a result of this, the demon felt obliged. He reciprocated by building a wonderful assembly house for the Pandavas, which attracted the extraordinary attention of all state princes. They felt the supernatural power of the Pandavas, and thus, without grudge, all of them submitted, paid tributes to the emperor. The demons possess wonderful and supernatural powers to create material wonders, but they are disturbing. They are always disturbing elements of the society. The modern demons are the harmful material scientists who create some material wonders for the disturbance in the society. For example, the creation of nuclear weapons has caused some panic in human society. Maya was also a materialist like that, and he knew the art of creating such wonderful things. And yet, Lord Krishna wanted to kill him. When he was chased both by the fire and by the wheel of Lord Krishna, he took shelter of such a devotee as Arjuna, who saved him from the wrath of the fire of Lord Sri Krishna. Devotees are therefore more merciful than the Lord, and in devotional service, the mercy of a devotee is more valuable than the mercy of the Lord. Both the fire and the Lord ceased from chasing the demon as soon as both of them saw that the demon was given shelter by such a devotee as Arjuna. This demon, feeling obliged to Arjuna, wanted to do him some service to show his gratefulness. But Arjuna declined to accept anything from him in exchange. Lord Sri Krishna, however, being pleased with Maya for his taking shelter of a devotee, asked him to render service unto King Yudhishthira by building a wonderful assembly house. The process is that by the grace of the devotee, the mercy of the Lord is obtained. And by the mercy of the Lord, a chance to serve the Lord's devotee is obtained. The club of Bhishmadev was also a gift of Mayadanava. Om Gyan Tamirandasya Kinanjana Shilakaya Chakshudum Militam Mena Sasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadate Swapadantika. We're born in the darkness of ignorance, but our spiritual master has kindly forced open our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Therefore, we offer our most humble and respectful obeisances unto him. Maum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschyacha Disatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha Kalpatrivishya Kiripasinduvevacha Patitanam Avineva Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. This is an amazing section of the Bhagavatam, because here we are hearing how Arjuna, who was so qualified in and of himself, he is only remembering here how it was by the grace of Lord Sri Krishna that he had any powers whatsoever. And that these powers, of course, were granted by Krishna. There's a saying in English, one should not be proud of borrowed plumes. In the old days, women and men used to wear feathers in their hair, like you see Krishna always wearing a peacock feather. Well, aristocratic people would decorate their hats with feathers, and some of these feathers were obtained from very rare birds. And according to how rare the bird is, that's the value of the feather. So sometimes poor people or middle-class people would borrow feathers from aristocratic people, and they would borrow them, and they would put them on their hats, and everyone would think, wow, that person's really amazing. Or sometimes in the modern world, people borrow somebody's car, or you rent a car of a very nice brand. And when you're driving that car, you start thinking, oh yeah, I'm pretty cool, I'm pretty important. People actually will think that you are when they see you driving a big stretch limo or a Cadillac or a convertible. So the idea is that these things are borrowed. You can't take pride in them. So in the same way, every single talent that a living being has is borrowed from the Lord, right? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am the ability in man. I'm the intelligence of the intelligent. I'm the strength of the strong, right? So Arjuna is being humbled now. Arjuna was always humble, but the tendency is to become proud when we have abilities. We become proud of our abilities, but we should know that in a second those abilities can be taken away. So Arjuna is reflecting here on how all of his abilities were by the grace of Lord Sri Krishna. And that's the example of Arjuna's devotional qualities, is he's always giving credit to Krishna. So this pastime is an amazing pastime that's explained in the Mahabharata. One day Krishna and Arjuna were walking in the forest together as friends. This was before the great battle and everything. They were walking in the forest as friends. And suddenly they met a Brahmana. And this Brahmana had incredible features. He had bright red hair, yellow beard, and he was very, very dynamic in his countenance, you know. And they were so, you know, astounded by his sight. And they asked him, "So, my dear Brahmin, please tell us who you are." He says, "Oh, I'm simply a very hungry Brahmin. I have a very voracious appetite. I like to eat a lot." And so Arjuna and Krishna said, "Oh, well, what kind of food would you like to eat? We're ready to supply you with anything." He says, "Actually, I am Agni. I am the fire god. And I have a desire to eat this forest by burning it down to the ground." And they asked him, "Why?" He said, "Well, my name is..." When there was a great fire sacrifice, and now you know, if anybody has seen a fire sacrifice or participated in the fire sacrifice, one of the regular things that goes on is the pouring of ghee into the fire. That fire is Agni. Huh? There's a devotee here in New Vrindavan. He takes care of the furnace when we used to burn firewood for heating the temple just a couple of years ago. So Tejo Maya, he would explain to me when I was the president, trying to make sure the temple was warm by burning wood, that this is the altar of Agni. You have to take care of it. You have to clean it. Take all the ashes out regularly and make sure that it's functioning regularly. So Agni is fire. So when pouring ghee into the fire, if the fire is sufficiently strong enough, it takes that ghee and burns it up with no smoke. Malati tells a story of the first fire sacrifice that she was involved in. And Prabhupada told them, you know, get butter and bring it for the fire sacrifice. They were all new devotees. So Malati was thinking, what? Butter? Why spend so much money on butter? We're just going to throw it in the fire. Let me get margarine. You know, Malati was she's always very thrifty, you know. So she bought margarine, and then Prabhupada was trying to light the fire, and it was actually a marriage ceremony. And so Prabhupada was pouring this melted margarine on the fire, and it wouldn't ignite. It was a pop, 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 pop. And so Prabhupada said, when he was trying to get the fire going, he goes, "This marriage will have a slow start." So the idea is that if you have a strong fire, you can put a lot of ghee into the fire. So there was a big sacrifice that was held by this personality, Swataki. And it was a huge sacrifice. So he poured so much ghee on the fire that the fire, you know, Agni, it couldn't digest it. He couldn't burn it fast enough. There was so much ghee being poured on. You know, and they go, swaha, swaha, swaha. You ever seen a fire sacrifice? Anybody? You seen? Well, swaha is a way to offer ghee to the fire. Somebody said swaha is the name of Agni's wife. I'm not sure of that. I didn't look that up. But the idea is that you're offering. So anyway, Agni was explaining to Krishna and Arjuna that, hey, I have indigestion from the last fire sacrifice. And in this forest, there are very valuable herbs. It's like if you have indigestion, back in the old days, we would make something called Brahmastra. Brahmastra was a combination of anybody who was sick in the old days. This was the medicine. If you had indigestion from eating too much at the feast, they said, okay, or you have a cold, take Brahmastra. Brahmastra juice. So Brahmastra was made out of, you know, red chilies, ginger, and lemon. And it was so incredibly, you know, hot, it would burn out all of your disease. Anyway, in this forest, Agni is explaining to Krishna and Arjuna that in this forest there's many herbs that I need to eat. and that will help my indigestion. He said, but every time I'm going to eat this forest and get my herbs, Indra appears in huge cloud forms and dumps rain on it and puts the fire out. Because Indra's good friend, Takshasha, was some serpent demon happened to live in that forest, and it was his good friend. So they had made some agreement that Indra would protect the forest. That's why Prabhupada says here in the purport that this forest was protected. Oh, Gandiva. Prabhupada in the translation, he translates Gandivam as the protected forest of Indra. Okay? So in this forest, not only was there herbs, but there was many demoniac beings in the forest, living creatures and demons and everything. And so Agni says, please, Krishna and Arjuna, you guys are so powerful. You help me so I can get rid of my indigestion, and help me by protecting this forest from being protected by Indra. You're powerful. You can defeat them. And not only that, but don't worry. All these demoniac beings in there, they're meant to be killed. You know. And of course, anybody who's killed in the presence of Krishna gets liberation. So Arjuna and Krishna, they agreed. Yes, we will help you. But Arjuna said, well, I have one problem. Even though I have many celestial arrows, I don't have a bow. and not only that, but we're walking. I don't have a chariot either. So Agni said, okay, no problem. He called Varuna, and Varuna was stashing. He stashed in the depths of the ocean all these celestial paraphernalia. And Varuna appeared on the scene, and he brought Arjuna this bow that was like a rainbow, the size of a human. Of course, in those days, humans were quite tall. But it was the size of a man, and it was studded with diamonds. It looked like a rainbow studded with diamonds. And that's how it looked. But it was a powerful bow. This was the Gandiva. This is how Arjuna achieved the Gandiva bow. And then he brought also a chariot. And Arjuna said, one other thing. I need to have a quiver of inexhaustible arrows. So he said, no problem. So he brought that. And then he gave Krishna a club. Kamaduki was Krishna's club. And later on he gave him one. He also gave him a conch shell. Varuna is the lord of the ocean. So out of the ocean, Varuna brought up this conch shell, which is called the Devadat. So Arjuna just tried out the conch shell a little bit. He blew the conch shell, and it was just so loud. He twanged the Gandiva bow, and it was so powerfully loud. It was like scaring everybody, you know. So this is how Arjuna obtained those weapons. This is why the Gandiva pastime is very important. So Agni said, okay, you got your stuff. Now I'm going to go and eat. I got to take prasadam. I'm hungry. So he starts devouring the Gandiva forest. He starts burning it up, and that's how he eats, right? The fire of digestion is also, right? We call it. So he started eating the Gandiva forest, burning it up. And as he was burning, all these different, demons tried to escape. It was burning fire, you know. And Arjuna was there with his bow, and he was shooting them. And it was a big scene, you know. And Indra found out that this forest was burning. It was burning hotter than ever. And so Indra sent his clouds. First he sent his clouds, and they were pouring columns of rain. Weren't raindrops, it was columns of rain pouring out. And because the fire was burning so hot, it's explained in the Mahabharata that the fire was burning so hot because not only the forest, the trees were burning, but the fat of all these living entities, these serpents and snakes and everything, was dripping into, and it was burning so hot that when Indra was pouring the rain, like we'll also be celebrating this Govardhan, when he was pouring the rain, in big columns, it was evaporating before it hit the forest. It was just, the whole thing was just steaming and everything. And so Indra found out, because the forest was burning so hot and everything, found out that his rain wasn't working. So he got curious. What's going on? So he hopped on his elephant, Ayurvata, and traveled down to take a closer look. And as he saw what was happening, he started shooting his own weapons at Krishna and Arjuna. You know, Indra's always getting Indra's always getting in trouble. You know, so he's having this battle with, and he starts you know, getting the clouds of devastation again rain out. So Arjuna starts shooting some arrows, and he was shooting arrows to protect the Gandiva forest. He wasn't attacking Indra directly, but he created an umbrella by his arrows. He created an umbrella of arrows over the Gandiva forest, so that the rain couldn't touch it, and that the fire would burn and burn and burn. So this was the scene. So Indra's being, you know, defeated, so to speak. And at the same time, because Indra's the father of Arjuna, he was actually relishing this battle, because he was seeing, oh, my son is such a good warrior. So then, and then this is what's explained here in the verse, then Indra calls all the demigods. He calls all the demigods to come and join this fight. And Arjuna's just like shooting his arrows, you know, with the Gandiva, and Krishna's driving the chariot. Actually, when the chariot arrived from Varuna, Krishna said, "Okay, it's a nice chariot. I'll be your driver." So he volunteered to serve Arjuna. But that was the first time that Krishna offered to drive the chariot of Arjuna. So he was driving the chariot all around. He was making sure that nobody escaped from the Gandiva forest. So it was burning and burning and burning. Finally, the whole thing was practically burned to ashes. But there was one person who survived, because he was underground. He was deep underground. And that was this demon called Maya Danava. Maya Danava, finally, when the fire was burning, he tried to escape. And Prabhupada's explaining here in the purport that he was trying to escape, and Krishna saw him. So, and Krishna took out his Sudarshan, and he was just about to kill him. And then Maya Danava saw Arjuna. So he went to Arjuna and fell at his feet. "Please protect me. Please protect me." So when Arjuna heard his pleas for protection, because Arjuna had made a vow as a Kshatriya, the rulers, administrators, their first business is to give protection. The very word Kshatriya. Kshatriya means what? To protect from hurt, right? So Arjuna had made this vow that anybody who comes to him begging for shelter. See, most of these entities were flying out of the forest trying to escape. They didn't come. So, but Maya Danava went to Arjuna and said, "Please protect me." And Prabhupada's explaining this here in the purport. "Please protect me." And so he did. He stopped Krishna actually from killing him, and Maya Danava took shelter of Arjuna, and he was so grateful. He was so grateful to Arjuna. He said, "Please, Arjuna, I want to give you something. I want to do something for you in exchange for saving me." And Arjuna said, "No, it's my policy that I don't accept anything back, right? But if you want to serve, then go to Krishna, ask him." So Maya Danava went to Krishna and said, "So how can I serve you?" And Krishna says, "I don't need anything. I'm self-sufficient myself. But if you want to serve me, serve my devotee, Yudhisthira. Serve my devotee, Yudhisthira." And maybe you can use your talent, and Prabhupada explains here in the purport that Mayadhanava wasn't just an ordinary demon. He was an architectural genius. He could build things in a very magnificent way. So maybe you can build something for King Yudhisthira. Of course, what he ended up building, we went to Yudhisthira and he explained all of his talents. You know, I can do this, I can build this. And then what he ended up, so Yudhisthira said, well, why don't you build me an assembly house? We had talked about the assembly house that Krishna had borrowed for Dwarka, right? That was a Sudharma assembly house. This is a different assembly house. That was called, what was that called, the assembly house in Dwarka? Sudharma. It was called a Sudharma. And so this assembly house is called Mayasabha. Not that it's a place full of Maya, but it was built by Maya. He built this incredible, and this was placed not in Dwarka, but this was placed in Indraprastha, right, where Arjuna and the Pandavas were residing and ruling from there. So it was this incredible assembly house, which was central to the whole part of Krishna's plan. This is all part of Krishna's plan. It was all central to the eventual battle of Kurukshetra, which eventually established the Pandavas as rulers. How was it central? Well, first of all, Prabhupada here is explaining in the purport that the Mayasabha was the place. First of all, let's do a little explanation. This assembly house was so amazing. First, Donovan said, listen, before I build this assembly house, I have to go and get all of the materials that I have stashed in the Himalayas. I have so many diamonds and pearls and corals and everything that I stashed there for the last time I was building something. Just like construction materials are people build something and then construction materials are left aside. So he stashed all these construction materials in the Himalayas. So he went to the Himalayas and he brought back all these materials. And the assembly house was made out of like diamonds and pearls and rubies, and the hall was so amazing. The architectural features of this were astounding. Even to, the demigods were amazed how it was built. Later on, this assembly house was the place where Maharaj Yudhisthira called all the kings of the world to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice, of which the Rajasuya sacrifice, one of the main features of the Rajasuya sacrifice was to glorify Krishna as the most worshipable personality. Later on, as this assembly house was there in the kingdom of the Pandavas, not only were the kings of the world amazed, but some of them became very envious. And the most envious one who walked through this assembly house, when he saw the architectural features and the beautiful women and servants that were there tending to Maharaj Yudhisthira, was Duryodhana. And Duryodhana was walking through it, and he pretended like it was just an ordinary place. He wasn't like everyone else walking through, oh my God. Duryodhana was just walking by, big deal, big deal. But in his heart, he was burning with envy, because the Pandavas, he had tried to destroy the Pandavas so many times, and the Pandavas ended up always coming out victorious. And this was the same case, because originally, I think it was Dhritarashtra that had given the Pandavas, finally after so many, you can have this piece of land. And the piece of land that it was given was a desert. That's why it's called Indraprastha, because Arjuna called Indra, please help me develop this. And Indra, poured rain and made the whole thing very fertile. So anyway, when Duryodhana was walking through, the mystical elements of this Mahasabha, he was walking through, and he was pretending that he didn't see anything like really unusual or astounding. And when he was walking, it was this marble floor. So everything was marble and jewels, and he was walking on this marble floor, and when he got to one section of the marble floor, suddenly, he fell into water. It was actually not a marble floor, it was a pond. But he couldn't tell because it was a clear pond and it looked like just a continuation of the floor. And he fell in. When he fell in, and all the princes and princesses especially were laughing. And Maharaj Yudhishthira was trying to say, hey, please, stop laughing at it, because Maharaj Yudhishthira was the host, and he was feeling, he was a gentleman. He wasn't, so he was feeling sorry but everybody else was laughing. And when Duryodhana was coming up out of the water, completely humiliated, he looked up and he saw Draupadi was smirking. Oh, and this was really too much for him, because he really, really thought, he should have Draupadi for his own wife. And later on, so many things happened. But because of that, really, that really increased the enmity between Duryodhana and the Pandavas, which eventually led to the war. So all these things, anyway, Arjuna's remembering. This is only by the grace of Krishna that all these things happen. And this is the real mentality of a devotee. That actually, whatever I've been able to accomplish in my devotional service, it's only by the grace of Krishna. There's a certain period of time when Arjuna's powers were so astounding, and then later on, I think Arjuna is going to be remembering maybe in this chapter here, that he remembers that at the end he was assigned to bring the queens of Dwarka and protect them, and bring them from Indraprastha to Dwarka, or the other way around, I think, back to Dwarka. And somehow or another, Krishna had left the planet at that point, and Arjuna was trying to protect them with his arrows, the same arrows that he was defeated Indra and the whole host of Deva. And what happened? He got defeated by what appeared to be like some cowherd boys that were shooting arrows. So where did that power go? Arjuna's reflecting, He's reflecting, actually, all my power was there by the grace of Krishna. And Prabhupada says in one purport earlier that Krishna empowered Arjuna for a certain period of time, and then withdrew that powers because those powers were not helpful for going home back to Godhead. They were actually interfering. Because to go back home, back to Godhead, one has to be very humble and dependent on Krishna, knowing where everything comes from. So we have a tendency to become proud of our accomplishment. Even Prabhupada at the end, out of super humility, he was telling his godbrothers, "Oh, I became proud of out of humility, he was saying like that." But there's a tendency at the end, when everything's taken away, when you're, then you realize actually it all happened by the grace of Krishna. So this is of course a major point of this chapter. Or Arjuna's meditation, and also the point that Prabhupada makes here in the purport so nicely is that actually, Mayadanava, because he served Arjuna, he surrendered to the devotee, and he got the mercy of Krishna, and he rendered service to the devotee. So Mayadanava is famous as being a demon, but actually he became a devotee. So if we think of our own spiritual lives, who were we before we got the mercy of a devotee? We were also in the Asura class. We're trying to get to the Asura, So the idea is that it is by the grace of the devotee, and this is of course explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Brahmana Pranitya Kana Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata Bij, by the mercy of Guru. By the mercy of devotee, one gets the mercy of Krishna. And by the mercy of Krishna, whatever it is, the mercy of Krishna, they work hand in hand. By the mercy of Krishna, one gets the association of a devotee. And by the mercy of a devotee, one gets a chance to serve Krishna. So and Prabhupada was saying in one section, they work in tandem, they work hand in hand, Krishna in the heart and the devotees. They're working for the same purpose. And sometimes it says that the spiritual master is considered to be the external representative of super soul. They have the same purpose. Bring this soul back to me, back to Krishna. So we should always be careful. This is why it's explained for the 10 offenses. We say that mad elephant offense, explained by Lord Chaitanya, is to disrespect the devotees of the Lord, to not honor, to criticize by fault. So we have to be careful. We should try to realize how wonderful each and every devotee is. They have the power. I remember when I first met devotees. The first devotee I met was somebody who had blooped from the temple, but he inspired me so much. So even somebody who's fallen from this has that much, let alone somebody who's actually following. So how glorious are Krishna's devotees, you know? And we should always remember that. And we live in a community of devotees. We're so fortunate, but we shouldn't take that our fortune for granted. Sometimes familiarity breeds contempt. So this is one of the austerities of living in the Holy Dham, is to respect, love, and appreciate all the devotees living here, and to understand each devotee is like a touchstone. This is how Bhaktivinoda Thakur measures the power of a devotee. To a degree, a devotee is a touchstone. And somebody who comes in contact with a devotee becomes a devotee. This is how you measure, right? How great a devotee is. And of course, we see Prabhupada, how many devotees Prabhupada made, and some Prabhupada's followers, how many devotees they're making. This is the magic of Krishna consciousness, being touched by Krishna. So we have opportunity to be touched by Krishna by taking shelter of the instructions of the pure devotee, especially through the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, the chanting of the glorious Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting and hearing and chanting. This is the ultimate gift that the Guru is giving. We have so many physical services we can do for the spiritual master, but as we get older, you know, I grew up in Krishna consciousness planning to be like the Goswamis. We had a picture of Rupa and Sanat Goswami in the Brahmachari ashram. We used to chant my rounds in front of that. Think, yes, yes. And the Goswamis were glorified by sleeping only an hour and a half, only eating a drop of buttermilk. I was thinking one day I'm going to become like that. But actually, the older I get, the harder it is for me. I have to sleep more for some reason. I guess I've had health issues. To sleep more, I have to eat more. So my dreams are becoming like that. But, and doing physical service for the Guru, that's one thing. But the main gift that Srila Prabhupada has given us is his books, is his teachings, and this chance to talk about Krishna and hear about Krishna in the association of devotees, you know. So this is my message for today. And we still have a few minutes left. Any questions or comments? Sorry I went over time.
Thanks for sharing this wonderful pastime. When the residents in the assembly hall were all laughing at Duryodhana, and Yudhishthira was asking him to stop.
Yeah.
Krishna came along and said, no.
That's right. Because Krishna had his plan.
I got in a little late, and I don't know if it's in this purport, but we speak about Arjuna losing his power, and he didn't need those powers to go back to God.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Prabhupada mentions in that purport at the end, there's a lesson for us. Can you read that sentence?
Oh, in this purport?
I think it was that purport. This is a lesson for...
It's not in this purport. The one about Krishna taking away his powers, so he could go back home, back to God. They weren't needed. Yeah, I commented on that. Prabhupada's concluding the concluding purport, concluding sentence of the purport is the process is that by the grace of the devotee, the mercy of the Lord is obtained, and the mercy of the Lord, a chance to serve the Lord's devotee, is obtained. You can see how Krishna, you know, he was approached. Please let me do something for you. No. Do something for you to steer, right? He told Donovan, don't do anything for me. Do something for you to steer. And Arjuna said, don't do anything for me. Do something for Krishna. You know, there's a story in the Brindavan Lila, all right, how Sanatan Goswami he had his deity, Madan Mohan. He was worshiping him in a tree, right? And so he had underneath the tree, and he didn't have anything. He was a beggar. He was a Goswami. So he would just bring him chapatis. Madan Mohan kept saying, well, Madan Mohan told him one day, talking to his deity, oh, it's nice you bring me this. I said, I know, but can't you bring me any subjis, or at least maybe just bring me a little salt? So he said, I'm a beggar. Whatever I get, I'm bringing to you, my Lord, please. And one day he's sitting on the hill, and he sees this big boat. And it got stuck in a sandbar. And the people on the boat were waving, help, help. Krishnas Goswami knew he was a sadhu. So finally they swam to shore, and the owner of the boat said, went to the townspeople and said, what can be done? He said, well, go to Sanatana Goswami. He's a sadhu. Maybe he's got some idea how to save your situation. So he went to Sanatana Goswami. He told him, I got this whole boat of salt that I'm bringing to try to make money. And so somehow or another, Sanatana Goswami, just chant Hare Krishna. And then the boat miraculously got stuck off, got freed from the sandbar, and this owner of the boat was so happy. He went and sold all his salt, had millions of dollars, millions of rupees, and he went back to Sanatana Goswami. Oh, thank you so much! Thank you so much for saving my business. I want to do something for you. Sanatana said, what can you do for me? I don't need anything. If you want to do anything, do something for Madan Mohan. Huh? Do something for Madan Mohan. What can I do for Madan Mohan? Well, he's living under a tree now, and I'm only feeding him a dry chapati, not even any salt. Maybe you could build him a nice home, nice temple. So this is how a devotee thinks. Don't do anything for me. Do something for Krishna. And of course, Krishna, he reciprocated. He made Sanatana Goswami. He empowered him with so much power to preach and spread Krishna consciousness. So this is the loving exchange. Devotional service is about loving exchange between the Lord and his devotees, and between the devotees and the devotees, and everything's magically happening by the grace of Krishna. By the grace of Krishna. Okay, any other points? Yes?
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask, as I'm practicing, I'm discovering a lot of these, unwanted qualities starting to rise up in me. So my question very quick is, how do we make peace with our demonic qualities?
By declaring war on them. the way you win, a lot of times the way people have peace, right? They call it peace treaties, right? Peace treaties don't happen in the beginning. Peace treaties are after a long, hard-fought battle, right? You declare war on your enemy, then you declare peace. You have the peace treaty, right? Agreement. So in the same way, we have these anarthas, unwanted things, and we shouldn't see them as our friends for practicing. Well, we could see them two ways. One, we can see them as our friends because we start realizing how impure we are. As a reminder, Krishna is arranging for us to see our impurities or anarthas, the dirty things in our heart, right? In that sense, they're friends, but not friends that you want to associate with. They're friends because they remind you how fallen you are and to take shelter of Krishna, but not to associate with them. So we have to learn the process of identifying these anarthas, by understanding the scriptures. In the scriptures, there's so many descriptions of unwanted things in the heart also, and so many examples. Like we're studying Indra. Every time I'm giving class, something's about Indra's coming up, and now we're having Indra's. What was Indra's anartha? He was a great devotee, but pride. He was proud. We can't see that in the beginning. A lot of times we can't see. It's explained that the anarthas of a living being, of the conditioned soul, are so deep. It's like an iceberg. You know what the iceberg, quality of an iceberg is?
It's bigger underneath.
Yeah, it's only 1/8 above the water. It's all you see. But 7/8 is underneath. So in the same way, whatever anarthas we're seeing, whatever unwanted things we're seeing, lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, illusion, these things are just really just a speck of what's really deep inside. So we have to pray harder when these things come up. Just like you see an iceberg, you say, oh, I got to be careful not to go too close to it. The famous Titanic example, So in the same way like that, we have to be conscious that, oh yes, I'm seeing this, but try to avoid these things and try to purify ourselves by living in association with devotees, hearing from the scriptures. Simple things that Prabhupada gave us. If we don't do, then we're not able to serve so nicely. I was giving an example to a devotee the other day about we're just instruments. This is the lesson. We're just instruments or tools. We're tools in the hands of the spiritual master, or tools in the hands of Krishna. Now, you can say, well, are all tools equal? It's like anybody who cuts wood for the winter. No, not all tools are equal. If you have a tool that is not sharp, right? If you have a chainsaw that is dull, you could go out there and you can start cutting wood. But how much wood, how long will it take you to do a certain task if the saw is dull, So the same, when the tool is sharp, then it becomes, you can do so much more. So similarly in our devotional lives, if we sharpen ourselves with strict sadhana, with dedication and love for Guru and Krishna and the Vaishnavas, then the spiritual master can use us to do incredible things, way beyond, just like Arjuna is remembering, I defeated Indra and all the demigods, How did that happen? Well, he was a sharpened tool, his love for Krishna. His love for Krishna he wasn't practicing sadhana like we're doing, but he was way above that. He was an eternal associate of the Lord. So the idea is that we want to sharpen ourselves. We're a tool in the hands of Krishna. But if we're dull, well, how much can Krishna do through us? So to sharpen ourselves in the sharpening process, this hearing and chanting association, So we should take advantage of the opportunity. We were talking last night, right? The Discourse, the community dialogue, or what are the qualities of a devotee village? And there was a lot of things people were mentioning, One of the things mentioned was we have a chance. We have facility for coming together and hearing and chant the glories of the Lord. Or we have friends, devotee family, that you can stop anybody and talk to them about something you read in the Bhagavatam. It's just so amazing. We take it for granted, but it's so amazing. It's such a wealth. That's how we sharpen ourselves, to practice it ourselves and to get energy from those who are practicing. And then we become tools. I mean, Krishna, Radhavrindavan Chandra has an incredible plan for New Vrindavan. Already we see, just as we were talking last night, how much was accomplished when devotees were sharpened by strict, following the desire of the Guru. How much was accomplished? And we have a whole nother phase to accomplish so many wonderful things. And eventually, of course, ultimately, of course, we want to each perfect our lives. We want to each perfect our lives. We're not so much interested, the project is going to go on. We're here today, we could die tomorrow, like Jai Ram was saying last night. I'm here serving all of you, but tomorrow I could die, or my visa could be taken away. I could be exiled from America. But while I'm here, I'm putting my heart into it, right? So this is the thing. So the ultimate goal is to perfect our lives as servants of Krishna, be enthusiastic, spontaneous lovers of Krishna. So we have to take advantage. We have everything we need. This was the other point somebody made last night. Abhishtada was saying, we have everything we need. Here, New Vrindavan, Krishna will fulfill all your desires. She was talking how her desires would be fulfilled since she's moving to New Vrindavan. And there was one sannyasi here. He didn't believe me. And I was telling him, Prabhu, this is not different from Vrindavan. These are desire trees. He's sitting out here. This is the sannyasi from Brazil. He's sitting underneath this tree with me here, right in front of the temple. I said, yes, it's this magical place. These trees are not ordinary. This is a desire tree. Just don't think of it as And so as I was telling him that, suddenly a devotee walked by with a tray of cake, right? And Maharaj says, Prabhu, I was just thinking, I wish I had some cake, and now there's devotee cake. So anyway, the magic of New Vrindavan is there, just underneath the surface. You have to develop spiritual vision. Associate with devotees who have that vision. Varshana Swami, he has that vision. He can peel. If you hear from him, he'll peel back the layers. Right. The Dham it's explained that the Dham is covered by a thin layer of Maya. Right. And when it's peeled back by the grace of a devotee, you can say, "Wow, this is actually the spiritual world." But then we get covered again. So therefore, Prabhupada says, Bhagavatam explains, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Nasta Pareshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We have to make hearing, serving the book Bhagavat, the devotee Bhagavat, our life and soul. Then, by their grace, we're able to see things as they are. Huh? So we better stop here for today. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Ooh.